Well, hello everybody and welcome to my afternoon painting session. I hope you guys are all doing well today. We are back on the pumpkins. I'm just going to try and do something about straightening myself somehow. That'll do. And hopefully you guys have been around and seen some of my other ones. And I'm talking to myself, so I'm trying not to do that. Right. And the desktop audio suddenly stopped. No idea why. Oh no. No, it's still going. Right, let us get started. As you can see, different reference image for today. This one is a group of pumpkins from top down. I just really liked the different kind of colours and patterns on this one. So it's quite, not pretty, but just unusual. So we're going to start how I always start these sketching sessions, which is basically blocking in the various colours. For those of you that are new here and joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Ginger and I am an artist in the Highlands of Scotland in the UK, and today's weather is currently grey. So classic Scottish weather, just cold and grey. I think we started today at 2 degrees centigrade this morning, so we are getting back into it, into our cold weather, which is what we like. I'm going to turn the gouache down, turn it around so I can access the colours I want. This is the Himi Gouache 48 set, and I really want a bigger set, so if anybody wants to donate me a bigger set, please do. But I like this set because it's got a good range of colours in it. So we're going to go straight in with our medium orange, which is probably the orangest orange I've got in the set before we kind of go into orange reds, and it's a really great colour. So let's start with this big pumpkin in the middle, because that actually is probably going to set the size and shape of all the others. That is not big enough, girl. Come on, pay attention. That's also not quite big enough. Slightly better. We've got an almost pure white pumpkin as well on this reference image, which is going to be quite cool. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments and the live chat. Also, feel free to say hello, introduce yourself, and let me know where you are viewing from today. We've had a whole range of people over the last, over this week, from America through to Australia. And hello, Tony from Wincanson. Isn't that? I think that's how you pronounce it. Who just seems to lovingly drop in and out. So welcome. Now let's get this white one in. It is white, so I'm going to go for a slightly orange off white to get this one in, which we're going to put here. And of course I've got a crocodile clip holding the paper down until the paper is wet enough for me to be able to lift it. Once it's wet enough, and it will settle down into this to where it currently is, and I won't need the clip anymore. Otherwise I paint the clip in. We are using a handmade sketchbook, so this is a handmade sketchbook, and the paper in this sketchbook is the Canson May Tense, so it's ingress paper, made for soft pastels. I use mainly soft pastels and charcoal in my main work, so this just is a great sketch. Well, I've got several that a friend of mine made for me with this stuff in, but it's also really good for gouache. It does buckle, but it does resettle down again afterwards, so no idea why, but it's pretty cool. And it's nice to have somebody make something for you as well. You know, it's not just I've gone and bought one from a shop This is actually handmade by somebody for me specifically with my type of paper in it, and it was really sweet of them, and it's been unbelievably handy having this many. Oh, and that's my WhatsApp going off. That's probably my husband saying he's leaving work, which would be good because he'll be due home soon. Right, and we are going into the corner. This one should have been a bit more yellow, but I want to get it down. It's also got some really accented kind of segment shapes on this one. That is good. I'm not really sure what to make of the one right at the top because it's actually a really dark blue. Where's my dark blue? This one. So it's almost like a black blue. It's like the patterning has gone a bit crazy on it. Let's kind of bring this one out a bit more. So it's, because it's quite a big pumpkin, that one. Hiding in the corner. I'm just going to bring that in as a nice dark blue colour. We'll put the orange flecks and stuff over the top. I may need to do another coat of that. I know I'm only colour blocking them in as a wash at the moment, so I'll be going back over it. In fact, I'll probably want to do the lighter colours first and then go over whatever's remaining so that it's a bit darker. Because it's quite dark, that one. We've got another white one up in the top corner. So let's get some more of that white. There's a little one, little round one. Oh, it's a lot closer than that. Let's bring that down. That shows I'm not paying attention to where things are. And that's a bit better. So there's that one. We've got, I'm not really sure what going on at the top here, but we have got a little bit of one coming in here, so, and it's a different shape because it's not round, so I'm going to stick it in here for the time being. It's right up against this white one though, so we'll do that. Going that way, and then we've got more of a yellow one with orange stripes, which is really funky. We like that, so let's bring in the really warm yellow that we've got. It's almost an orange. Bring that in, and we're going to put that in here. Like that, and then I'm going to put a layer of the dark brown in between them all, which will really make them pop up and stand up. So this will help them stand out. I know obviously I think they're sitting in hay. So for those of you that have just joined us, we have the reference image that we're kind of working from loosely. This is a sketch session after all, it's just a loose painting session. I'm not really here for lots and lots of details and exact. The idea is to kind of get this down get an idea of shapes, composition, colour, shadow, light, patterning, so that I can do this slightly bigger in soft pastel on a 10 by 10 inch piece, which is what I've been doing. So if you want to see those, you can see those on my channel, where I've done 2, I think, so far. I'm currently working on a big landscape piece, textured landscape piece at the moment, so I'm having to divide my time between lots of things. Next week is the start of Inktober, and that is where for the entire month of October we are all encouraged to draw or illustrate in pen and ink, based on prompts. Now this has become a bit more of an official thing, and there is an official prompt list which goes out. If you ever Google Inktober, you'll find their official site from the guy who originally created it, who's an illustrator himself, and an absolutely fantastic guy who works really cleverly with pen and ink. I like to use dip pens. I've done some smaller landscapes in dip pens with just Indian ink. I've done a lot of mountain landscapes in ink, and that's really gorgeous. So I am looking forward to looking at the prompts this year, and my plan is, depending on my health, my plan is to live stream each day the illustration for each prompt for each day. So there's some interesting ones in. I've looked at the prompt list already to kind of get myself a bit of a head start, get some ideas, do some sketches for some ideas so that I am prepared. It always helps going into Inktober, taking a look at the prompt list in advance and actually kind of mapping out what you want to paint. It's actually usually best not to just go straight into sketching something straight from the prompt without doing some planning, some decision making, maybe even pre-sketch out what you're going to do first, and then on the day or when you are ready, create the illustration and then put it up on social media with the Inktober hashtag for the prompt name and the day, and then basically this whole community's following it. I found it difficult at first, I think, just because I'm not really used to this sort of method of working, but I think once I got into it I had a lot of fun. I kind of developed a bit of a storyline where I had a black cat who was traveling the world, and a lot of the prompt themes were travel related, so it was quite an interesting little story. The cat went everywhere, did everything, climbed mountains, walked hills, skied, drove a car. I have no idea what that noise is. What is that? I have no idea. So yeah, Inktober starting from I think Wednesday next week. So I'll be looking forward to that. I will be putting a post up on the post tabs on my channel about the live streams for that, what time each day, so that everyone can get an idea. I'm planning on doing them slightly later on in the evening. No, I can't do that because of rehearsals. That's a good point. I have rehearsals, so starting rehearsals for our local pantomime. I stage manage their shows, so at some point I need to start actually attending the rehearsals. I hope the director is not watching my videos. But that might be a problem, so I'm just trying to think. Yeah, it would probably be late afternoon, just to try and make sure it's late enough in the day for, you know, like US and stuff, so they can see. Right, We have our base down. That is a good start. Now I'm going to use the brown while I'm still at it and get some of these stalks in. And I always start with the brown first and then paint over the top, the lighter sections, just because it really gives it a little bit more depth. So that's that one. And if I imagine that that's that one, the stalk's here, so you can't really see it. No stalk on that one. There's a little weird round base stalk that comes up like that. So we'll do that one. This one, I have not got a clue. It's such a weird shape because it almost like sticks up straight. So we will do that. There's a tiny amount of the one down here that we can see. And then we've got this one here, which looks more like a black hole. And then we've got another one here with another strange pointy stalk. Like that. Okay, so now our pumpkins have stalks. Yay! They look more like a... well, no, they don't look more like pumpkins at this point, but yeah. I like them. I'm just going to pull up my image of them though, because I want to get a little bit close up because of my eyesight. Right, that's a bit better. What shall we start on first? Shall we start on... we'll start on the white pumpkins first, I think. So I'm just going to map out where the segments are with a mid-grey. And that's basically, it tends to be like a little Y. So in at the top, so the outer edge, that's the top of the Y. And then the tail comes down and joins where the stalk is in the middle. And they get more rounded depending on which way the pumpkin is towards the middle. So let's put just ever so slightly, just put a little curve in. And where's our next? That's quite a big segment there, so that's our next line there. Sorry, I've got a really bad croak at the moment, very acidy. And we are... where are we going with this? In. So curve in. And same here. Curve that in. This one's pretty much almost straight. And then we've got one there. I think I could paint pumpkins in my sleep now, the amount of these I've now done. If you've not seen any of my other live streams or the actual pastel paintings that I've done based off these, they are all available on my channel. How's that looking? That's looking a little better. It is shadowy on each edge, so we're just going to put a kind of shadow line there. It's a little bit more on that side, and this side here, and a little less on the top side here. I don't know if maybe this one's just sitting unevenly in the sawdust, possibly. And then it is shadowy down to the stem, stalk, whatever you want to call it, at the bottom here. And that's because they tend to sit lower down, like they've sunk in. Supposedly, I found this out yesterday, that it's a good way to identify if your pumpkin is ripe, is if the stalk has sunk in the middle. I think it's something to do with the fact that the flesh starts to withdraw inside to create the cavity with the seeds in. And then once you've got your cavity with the seeds, by that point the stem, stalk, whatever, is has sunk. So I think that's pretty cool. Slightly weird, but pretty cool at the same time. Now we're going to get our white in. We've got a lot more to do on that one yet, but this will just help get this one settled. It's so wet, the light's shining off the paint and I can't see it. Oh dear. Honestly. It's weird though, a white pumpkin. I wonder what it would taste like. Do you think different colours taste different? I don't mean like in the sense of Skittles, because, you know, we'll not get into that one. And Smarties, the orange one does taste like orange chocolate. I don't care whatever anyone else says. Okay, let's bring that one down. Get some more white. Okay, we want to do the same with the other one up here, except we are on a slightly different angle, so we've actually got this sort of curve going on for all of these segments here, because we're actually, it's almost side on to us. So that's a bit better there. Where have you gone? Pale. Come here. Right, and then we bring that up and the line's coming up. Like that. And then we can add our white. Although it's probably going to run into the grey, because the grey's a little too wet at the moment. So let's go for our orange. We'll try this one. I don't want to go for the bright orange. So this should be interesting. So that comes down and it comes round like that. And the same on that side. And this one's got little speckles as well up the middle of each one. Like that. That's quite cool, isn't it? That's the line. You can just see that coming in there. That's the line there. big segment there. Let's bring that line down, and then it has, again, this one's got a line and some speckling. This one continues round and along like that, and again another line in the middle and some speckles. We're just having fun with this, aren't we? Right. This one in the middle is almost like a pale violet. It's a really strange colour. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go for the violet. Could always add some white to it. Come here, white. Let's see. It's really weird. So we're not doing the shadow, we're actually doing the lighter sections. Is it because it's covered in mould? Is that mould, maybe? It's a bit concerning, isn't it? So we're now going to have a purple pumpkin. I'm like, what on earth? Who knew pumpkins came in so many colours? Yeah, you come down to the middle, but can't see where. And then this one, the same. Let's grab some more of our purple. Keeping it fairly light and fairly not opaque, transparent even. So that we can show some of that orange through, because that's really how it's doing it anyway. Like that. We've got that one there, and then this one here. Comes down to that, and then another loop there. I've got a little bit close. I need to keep these lines. I'll be able to actually put those in. Hello and welcome to anyone that has joined us this afternoon. My name is Ginger and I'm an artist in the Highlands in Scotland, and the weather today is just grey, which is how we like it, or at least as redheads anyway. I always love how I block this in and I sit there and look at the page and I'm like, God, that looks boring. And then when I start doing this, I start getting all of the shapes and textures and colours in, and it very quickly changes into something a little bit more interesting. We're not here for perfection, because this is a sketch. This is just so that I can look at colours and shapes before creating this again in soft pastel on a 10" by 10" piece, and there are videos for those as I work through the sketches that we do from the live streams, and they are on my channel. I'm still croaky. Ooh, this is a big one. I'm going in the wrong direction. That's what we want. The only problem with using the Himmies is that some of these are really transparent without me adding loads of water, and that can be a little problematic. Right, now as we come down here, this is where things change. So we've got a little bit on this one. It kind of comes across and then comes down. It's more like that. It has some along the bottom. And then the next one has some at the top. Has a weird line in the middle that comes down. And then some here, which come a little bit further down and joins back up. Like that. Let's grab some more paint. Yeah, it's so weird painting a pumpkin purple, but never mind. That seems to be what's on the reference image. I do wonder if it is some sort of mould, or maybe it's just a natural whitening of the skin for this particular pumpkin. I do not know. Let's grab some more purple. That's a bit better. Okay, so these are starting to look like pumpkins, weirdly enough. This one is really yellow on the top, so I think that's what we're going to go for, is just yellow out the segments and leave the orange at the bottom. Yeah, that works. And down onto the next one. Quite a big gap there, I didn't mean for that, but there is quite a big gap going up. Same with this one. Another one there. These are the segments going in, and another segment here. Like that. Okay, so that's a bit more yellow. And this one at the bottom here is pretty much exactly the same. Just realised there's some yellow on this right here. And as I've got yellow on the paintbrush, I might as well. And also down along the bottom of this stalk here, and then lines going up. Like that. We can largely ignore it because we'll put some white on it as well anyway. Right, back to this yellow. And pretty much the same as the other one we've just done. It's yellow in the different segments until towards the base, which is slightly darker, the darker orange. Like so, and then the one at the top has got yellow stripes going up, so from here and again from here, and a little bit of brown in that, that's fine, kind of has some anyway. Right. Now I need to do something about this large one. I'm going to go back to our blue. Really ensure we've got it nice and thick. Like that. I could add some black in. I don't want too much. These are quite thick and chunky segment lines coming up there. Try and make sure that I keep the roundness of each segment, the bottom of each segment. This is quite thick, so I need to keep these quite thick. And around to here. Around to that one. Let's grab some more blue. A bit of black. And that goes up that way. And then disappears off there. And yeah, I need to bring these up a wee bit more. I think this one's got a kind of weird line in the middle. So they have like mini segment lines going up each section, it seems. And then all this patterning that's going on here. Like that. And we're just adding in the patterns. There's a lot of patterning on this one. It's weird painting a pumpkin blue, but I suppose it will make sense once I put the orange back in. Very strange looking pumpkin otherwise. That is our blue pumpkin. Now I'm going to add some more white in to these two white pumpkins. because they really are very, very white, aren't you? Remember, these are not straight lines, they're very organic, so ideally you need to really play with going over the lines slightly, coming in and out, and just giving it a little bit of shape and something a bit more fun. Like that. Same on this side, yep. Almost down to the edge. And that, and then up. Same on that one. These white ones are, there's almost pretty much no shadowing on them. Just the slight shadow that you get from the segment line. Some more white on the bottom one as well. Like that. Let's do a little bit more work on these pumpkins. I want to get a little bit brighter with these yellows. And a little bit more blue where it's a little bit more blue. Mostly just around the top sections. Like that. And the other ones are going a little translucent, so I'm going to redo these. Really want them quite vibrantly yellow with that orange. And yeah, this is an unfortunate slight issue with the Himi sets, is they tend to be a little transparent. They're obviously not as pigmented, and that's why they're as cheap, or should I say as cheap, so cheap. They're still pretty good, to be honest, for what you're getting. Like I said earlier, I really would love to get a bigger set of these, so I've got a bit more colour, because I just can't be bothered to have to sit and mix colours when I'm sketching. So there's two colours in this palette that I've put in from my Artisas, just because I wanted a little bit more in my green range that's not as fluorescent. That's looking a little, well, it's still wet yet. Have to wait until it dries, and that's when you start to really see where we're getting there. Oh, there is a yellow bit in here. Right there. And we know there's some yellow in this anyway, so we're just gonna lighten that. And we've got a little bit more. There's a bit of yellow there that I want in. Some yellow and orange there. Honestly, people, why do you keep messaging me? What do you want? Right, what I want to do is darken this background, because that will help with what we're looking at. I always think it looks better when you've got a bit more contrast. I haven't really put any shading in properly yet. And yes, I'm ignoring the fact it's hay. I am not painting individual bits of hay for the background. We're just going to keep it dark. Just imagine they're all sitting on like a dark wooden table. Yeah, that's looking a little better with the darker brown. Now, while I've got the brown though, I want to cut in some of these. Oh, that's still wet, so that's probably not a good idea, but this I can though. Here's where the darker bits are. Around the stem. Like that. That's not bad. It's a bit more dark here as it comes down. That stem stays relatively purple. This one has got quite a large chunk of brown coming through. You come down to to about there. You come out like that with a couple of spots. This one's also fairly chunky. And wobbly. Dear oh dear. What's going on there? Where are we? We're back here. This one's got a really big dark section here. I feel like I need to widen that one. And then these are a little bit more simpler. Generally, they're not too complicated. Whole point being that they kind of blend into the background, which is what we want. Going down, love doing these sorts of lines because they're great. That one's got a bit of a funny cant to it, and then it's got quite a large section of dark at the bottom here. This one's got a little bit at the top, and then kind of like a broken line. This one's quite narrow, and then widens. And that one's just a line up the middle, which is fine. And we've got some spots here and there that I want to get in. Just little bits. The texture always adds. I want to get this orange in. I'm just looking at where it is with this. That's just some of the shadows down the bottom there. So that's just a little bit of the orange, and allowing it to mix with that brown background. Because we're using gouache, we're using water-based, so it will reactivate with water. So it's a good way of creating little additional colours when you want to. And these have all got I just want to bring that out slightly. Same with you there. Not quite in the right place for what I want. And I've still got some lighter sections to put in as well. Come on, pumpkin, come round. There's like a spot mark there and another one there. And there's also some of this on this here. And here. let's bring our white and purple back in. So this should be really light now. Which one am I doing? I'm doing this one. It's kind of like webbing, isn't it, really? All over. Some more. Tends to be lighter as well, following the lines of the segments. I wonder why. That needs to be lighter. Need a bit more weight going on in that. Thank you. Like that. That's a bit better. Starting to have some fun with the patterns now. Same. Weird pattern up the middle, and then little white, paler violet bits along the top. This one is really pale. And the same with you. Like that. Oh, I missed one. This one at the back. There's some little bits of this on this as well. That's looking fun. We like something interesting like that. Right, I do need to darken a few other things, like this. Needs to be a lot darker. As does bits of this one. Some of this, but just mostly around this pumpkin in the middle. And then on the other one, that's over here. Like that, and then more like that. This is where I start using the brown. I'm going to bring the brown in to get some of the darker sections into this blue pumpkin, as well as this one. This is where we kind of help shape each segment, and the lines going up. Like that. There's a few odd lines here and there, and some dots as well. Where there's little marks. There's no way this will always be absolute perfection, so it's good to see something. And then the same on this one. Just allowing the blue and the brown to blend. And just darkening the bottom segments, patterning rather than all of it. And then I can get some of these beautiful other colours in, so it is more of the yellow orange. Give me a yellow orange. Let's make you a nice colour. And this is going to be more of a dabbing, I think, to make sure I get enough down for it to make sense. This is like the pumpkin you can barely see, but it is there. Where are we going with this? On that side. Just some little marks here and there. Notice there's none really going up the top at all. There's a lot more at the bottom here. How well that's going to come out once it dries. We'll need to let that dry and see. And also I need to get a lighter colour in on top, and the lighter colour is kind of like a violet blue, which I actually have as a pre-colour in this set. It's fairly translucent though, so it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to respond, but we'll see. I'm not sure you can even see that that is a pumpkin. Honestly. Let's grab some of the brown. We just need to tidy up the edges on these orange pumpkins as well. I do want to add a little red into the bottom of each one, just to give it a little bit of shading. In the meantime, I just want to get these little corners in. It just helps give it a little bit more shape. And what was I going to do? Some of the red. We've got some. I'm trying to work out which one of these colours I actually want. We'll go for the red. No, we'll go for the orange red. Always going to make it difficult because I don't want this bright. I don't want it brighter. But we'll see. We'll see what it does. I'm trying to stay away from the brown. There we go. That's a bit better. Just gives it a little bit more depth along the edges. Just felt we're losing those ones particularly because of their colour. They're a bit flat in the lighting in the reference photo. I think that will just give them a little bit more depth. Also should do some around the stalk. This is when I stop following the reference photo and just make things up. It makes sense in my head. The problem is the stalk's lower down, but we're not really seeing any of the shadowing on that because the lighting that they've obviously set up for this image is very flat because they've probably got lights on all different sides. It doesn't necessarily work though. You've got to be really careful. I'm just going to blend some of the brown into that. That should help. Right, and also same on this, but this rather than the brown, it's got the red kind of showcasing where the edges are. Same here on that. Another one there. Got the red there. Another one there. Gonna add another layer of white to this white pumpkin at the top. Except it's going to be more pink because I've still got some of that orange red on my brush. Thank you for that. Never mind. It's still brighter than what's underneath it, which is what matters. So now it's got a slight pink hue. It just makes it warmer, doesn't it? Try not to touch this lot with my sleeve too often. There's no real reflected light, there's no real kind of highlights to a lot of these things. Just seems to be how they've done it. Just trying to pick out where it's lightest. And these ones as well. tends to be along there and also over here. And then a little bit on the top where it kind of rounds out along here. And there's white on this one. Not really any on that one. A little bit on this one. There's not really any on this one, but we'll put some on anyway. And there's a little bit on that one as it comes up. Like that. Right, we're going to go over those orange bits on that big blue pumpkin. Trying to make sure that the paint's really thick, because the thicker it is, the better. I just want this bit brighter, that's all. Cool. You know what? I think we are done. I don't want to do too much because I don't want it looking ridiculous. It's too easy to overwork it, and it is supposed to be a sketch after all, so we don't really want it taking forever and getting too finicky with the details, because I can do that if I want to when I do the painting in pastel, but honestly I like to keep those simple as well, so actually that's fine for what we're doing. It's really cool actually doing lots of pumpkins together. I wonder if I'm going to dig through the reference folder I've got of all the pumpkins I pulled off. They are free reference photos. The pumpkin ones specifically come from Pexels, which is PEXELS.com. They seem to be a lot better for reference photos that are more still life, whereas I tend to get a lot of my landscape photos from unsplash.com. So there's two very good sites for reference photos, especially for pumpkins if you guys want to have a go. Otherwise, thank you for those of you that have joined me today. There's been quite a few of you in and out, dropping in and out. It's always interesting because it can be a bit of a long process painting, so I don't really expect most of you to sit there and watch me for the whole thing, but thank you and love you all so much, and you can join me next week for the Inktober lives starting the 1st of October, and that will be around about 3:30 GMT, basically from the 1st of October right the way through to the 31st. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. The prompts for this year's Inktober are up on the official Inktober website if you want to get a look in advance at what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using my glass dip pen and inks this year as well, so we'll see how that goes. It's probably going to get messy. Otherwise, if you want to see the pastel paintings that I've been creating from these sketches, then please go to my channel and see the rest of those, or some of my bigger works which I'm also currently working on, which is my main landscapes. Otherwise, thank you all so much, and I will see you all soon.